Welcome everyone to today's Q&A. My name is Gary Gerber. I'll be your host today, and Paul Higgins will be driving with the documentations. I don't have a lot of announcements. Angela's going to go over the updates in a little bit, but how this works is we ask that you type your questions into the chat box and number your questions in case you're going to ask more than one question. We do like to get through all the question ones as there's a lot of people. As I said, we're up to 145 folks now. So that everyone gets a chance to ask a question and we can get through the question ones. And we generally have time to go back and get through the question twos and threes as people stop asking question ones. Also, please keep your questions brief and to the point. If it's a lot of detail, specific students and stuff, it may be better in a service ticket. So kind of keep them more general. One thing that happened, there was a fix for the 14.1 report. And I know I have several tickets. I haven't had a chance to respond to them yet to try and rerun them again, but that has been fixed as of this afternoon. So if you do have any issue with the 14.1 report, please try and run it again. It should now have numbers for you. Other than that, I don't have anything. Angela, did you have some updates to go through from yesterday's update?
I do. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so we did have an update go in yesterday. Unfortunately, we haven't got the handoff from our development team to update the problem tickets just yet. So if you were to render the new active and known issues, we don't have the yesterday's June 28th fixes posted in here just yet. So get that updated as soon as that handoff occurs, I promise. We did have a few more bugs get logged. And one I wanted to point out was this guy, 6203, not a good one. We already had an IVR1 error on invalid submitter for closed schools, but now we're getting it on any students that you're trying to edit for the 2022-2023 academic year. The good news is that that one is already in testing. So this is the list of items that are currently being tested for next Tuesday. And this one highlighted in yellow, we will patch to production before Tuesday as soon as that passes testing. This list will grow. This is just currently what's already in testing. So by Monday's office hours, we'll have a more comprehensive list for you. I will leave that up. Martha, do you have any other updates you want to give?
I do not.
I guess, did we want to say something about the direct cert? Tomorrow's the end of the academic year, and you want to make sure if you want a copy of your direct cert data that you get it soon. I think we're going to be sending out a communication, but it gets purged at the end of the year.
Yep, exactly that.
Okay.
Heads up. We are coming in on the end of this academic year, and on July 1, CALPADS will start a new academic year. We will still be processing the 21-22 data because of end of year submission. So we'll continue to live in the 21-22 year with end of year. But other reports get refreshed as of July 1. So that's DC and the foster youth. If you need that data, you better get those extracts pulled down because it will be cleared on July 1.
All righty, so we'll get going on the questions. First question is from Sue-Ann. Sue-Ann, it seems like you haven't been in the last couple of Q&As. Flash 221 promised in the May-June timeframe this CDE was to build an SSID match process in CALPADS. This SCNR upload would generate report 0.0 SSID candidate list for the SSID matching. Since LPAC summer testing is going to be done within the next few weeks, when will this process be in place? Districts have hundreds, if not thousands, of students to test.
Brandy, you have an update on that?
Yeah, it's probably going to be towards the end of July. That is the ETA for it. So it is going to be after LPAC testing starts. And so we know that that is problematic. There was guidance that we did give in the ETS coffee session, which is you need to work with your LPAC coordinator, your EL coordinator, so that they provide you a list of students that actually have to be tested. And if your SIS has the capability You want to obtain SSIDs for those students. And of course, you want to make sure you do a manual lookup of those students to ensure that they don't already have an SSID. Because again, the SSID candidate list will not be available for download until probably the 3rd or 4th week in July.
Next question is from Soraya. How do I resend the confirmation email to a new CalPADS user? They missed the first 24-hour expiration date.
In the admin tool, yeah, user management.
Paul's navigating, getting to it on the screen. So user management, and then look up the user. You can pull me up if you want, Paul.
I can use myself as a crash test dummy.
There you go.
I don't think regular LEAs can look up people that way. They have to go to add a new user to find people, I think. But once you come here.
Well, they already have added the user, so they can search for them here.
So how do you reset their password? Because that's what happened, right? They didn't pick up their password in time.
Right.
Yeah, on this screen, it would, instead of showing active, it would show pending or activation expired. Yeah, and over here, you would see a button, and it's obviously not here because all mine are active, that says resend confirmation code. So I apologize that I don't have one available.
I think hopefully they get the gist of it, but that's where you're going to go for that, Soraya. Thanks, Paul. Next question is from Doug. I have a CERT 156 error for not having incidents posted where in-school suspensions have occurred. Currently, the code being used is not translated to a valid offense category. I am finding that all references include language for out of school. After reviewing the valid code combinations document, I come to the CalPADS brain test to ask where can I find references for what codes to use for in-house suspensions, valid codes for in-school suspensions. Not sure if I read that right. Where can I find references for what codes to use for in-house suspensions and valid codes for in-school suspensions?
I thought any code is valid for an in-school suspension, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, this CERT error is triggering because in the staff, he's reporting that a student was absent due to suspension, and there's no suspension record for them. That's why this is triggering. So it just means that you reported a student as absent due to suspension in the student absence summary, and so it's expecting a discipline record. That's what this means.
But when he goes to the codes for the offense, they all say out of school, and really they're interchangeable. In school suspension, out of school suspension, they're appropriate.
Yes.
I think there's some offenses that require expulsion, right? I think that's the most serious that we get with telling you exactly what you have to do. Is that right, Brandy? Aren't there some that require expulsion?
I don't know that that's true.
Oh,
I don't know if there's like a specific offense code that says you have to expel this kid.
Oh.
Generally, the firearm offenses are mandatory expulsion, but I don't think we enforce it.
Yeah. Okay.
And it might be looking at the result, because that's where you would report the suspensions, whether they're in school or out of school. And in his question, he says he's referencing the offense code. And so that doesn't really come into play with this error.
Amy asks, can you please review the process for acquiring an SSID?
Show her the videos online.
Yeah.
But basically, Amy, you have two options. You can look up individual students. That was identified in that flash that went out. Probably not a good option if you're a larger LEA. The other one is a batch file, and it'll automatically issue you a brand new SSID. And then you go to the mid-resolution screen. And for the students that already had an existing SSID, you combine those, and then it'll retire the brand new one that it issued you and keep the old one and retain all the information that was associated to that record's that student's history. Nate, do you want to tell Paul where to get to the, oh, does he have it up? The first one there?
Yeah, he has it up.
It's tiny on my screen, so.
The Society Assignment Post-Process Redevelopment Walkthrough Demonstration, Module D.
Maybe you could post that in the chat, Paul.
It's at timestamp 314.
Thanks, Paul. Mary asks, my SPED data specialist and I are having a hard time understanding when to use the SPED adult age students in transition indicator. Would it be used by students in the current year if it were still in their senior year of high school? Or is it for the year after regular high school that they are in the program for adults in transition, or both? Where is it coming from? Is it in the CASE PSTS section? This question was prompted by the CERT 147. I don't see a CERT 147 on the active error list, but the error is on only one student, and I have several other students that have the Y and the same IEP scenario, but they did not trigger an error. We've been looking at Flash 152, the data guide and errors list.
So Paul, if you could pull up the CALPADS file specifications, it's got a really nice breakdown of the definition of adult students in transition. But it's basically, you use that after the student has completed their cohort year, their final cohort year when they were expected to graduate. And then but they're continuing on in some kind of program, whether that's education or training.
And again, that's only if the student is moving into a transition program, because a fifth-year senior who's pursuing their high school diploma is not the same as an adult age student in transition. So it's only for a student with disabilities who will no longer pursue a high school diploma and are remaining enrolled solely for the purposes of transition services. And it is coming from the student enrollment file, so it's a field in the student information system on the enrollment record.
Right. Doug has a question too at 301. We'll get back to that one. Kay asks, when will the next revision run? The last one showing on my screen is for yesterday at 1:29. It does not show the records that were updated. I had uploaded WBL work-based learning records, but the report 18.1 only shows zeros. So revisions are running throughout.
Alex, is that one you said you have a bug for us, or you want us to log a bug for you?
Yeah, the work-based learning was posted, but the records aren't showing up in ODS.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we haven't logged a bug for that yet, Kay, but we are doing that shortly.
Gene asks, what is the difference between exit code 155 and 156, and when to use which? 155 is the regular one for the bulk of the students when they're exiting and coming back the next year. And I think 156 is for seniors that are going to be coming back in the 5th year.
Right, and for students with disabilities in transition, all of their 12 grade years that they're in transition for, they're exited as E156 at the end of that.
Thanks, Paul. Anna asks, do we have an ETA on the best way to get SSIDs for new students in the new year?
Julie gave you the two options that we have right now. Brandy indicated that we're working on something, but it's going to be later at the end of July is what we're targeting. So that's all we can give you, Anna.
Terry asks, I have a sync CERT 153 and CERT 155 errors that may not be related to problem 6195. I have an incident listed on my error listing that is nowhere to be found in my SAS or of any of the file extracts. The other students on the error report cannot be found on any of the file extracts. I've submitted a ticket and I'm waiting for it to be escalated, currently in progress. Someone earlier inquired if the sync was a full replacement file. I do not believe it is. The sync is full replacement, but one of the operational keys is the incident ID number. So if you include that, that's what will get replaced. It won't wipe out everything from other records. On what I've found, because we're beginning some of these, is if I upload a sync record, say you're getting an error on a student, but you can't find the record. If I upload a sync record, a temporary one for the student, and I put that incident ID that's getting the error, what I find is once that posts, all of a sudden I'll see either a CSIS or a soft record appear that before you couldn't see. And then once I see that, and I did this earlier today, I was able to then delete the CSIS record and then went back and deleted the sync record, and then the error went away. So this may not be the same thing, but that's the process that I go. Sometimes you have to, if someone has deleted the sync record without deleting the CSIS or soft record first, you end up with ghost records that you can't find. So by temporarily putting back a sync record, sometimes these ghost records will pop up, or stale records will pop back up and allow you to delete them in the right order.
Gary, can you delete it in online maintenance, the sync record, or did you delete it in batch?
I actually, before I was doing in batch, but today I actually was successful in deleting in online maintenance.
And I was going to say, I've taken several tickets where they just can't find the incident. But if you go into the incident through the CERT 155 or CERT 153 interface, as it's displaying the error on the screen, it has an incident local ID column, and the number in there is a link. So if you click on that link, it'll take you to that incident screen. And on the incident screen, you can add, delete, edit the SOF and CSIS records, as well as delete the entire incident. But if you're going to delete the entire incident, make sure you go in and you remove the SOF and CSIS records first.
Thanks, Paul.
I like that shortcut. I didn't know about that, Paul.
I didn't either.
Hey, I happened to cross it and I just held on to it for dear life.
Hey, Paul or Gary, sorry, Terry's ticket is in your queue, so maybe after this call we could look at it.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks. Perfect. Next question is, Amy, are we safe to start certifying if we are error-free, or should we wait until more error fixes are completed? Amy, unfortunately, at this point, or time, you wouldn't be able to, even if you didn't have any errors. That button has not been turned on yet. They're waiting for the data, certified data discrepancies to be implemented. And if that all goes well, then they're going to turn on the LAA approval button.
So I want to tack onto that, Gary, that Amy, even though you're in good shape now, when we do turn those on, it's likely you're going to have certification errors. So don't log in that day expecting to be able to approve. It's there's a good chance you're going to have some of those data discrepancies.
I just ask, when will the certification errors be released? Along the same line.
Yeah, targeting for Tuesday still, right?
Yeah, right.
We're trying really hard to get it turned on Tuesday. So stay tuned. If not, it'll be shortly thereafter.
Carol asked, someone else mentioned this earlier. I bet you're going to mention this, but can we get an ETA on the IVR 0001 issue?
Yeah, so I had a feeling that that was going to be a hot topic. So we're waiting on a patch on that one, Carol. There's it's in testing right now.
Alex asks, my SNF uploads keep having errors for different sets of students. Let's say I fix 7 SINFs. There will be 3 completely unrelated student records rejected when I upload the fix file. The export parameters from areas are the same. This may have something to do with how the errors are interpreted now, where they'll focus on one type, and as those are fixed, then the next ones come into scope, but I'm not sure.
Sounds like it to me, Gary.
Yeah.
And that was slide 11 on Brandy's quarterly updates.
All right. Okay, some question 2s. Come back to those. Charlene asks, hi, Charlene. Talked to her the other day. Because of PM 6203, I cannot upload any of the SDNR and SINF records. This has a huge impact on us, given the LPAC test is starting next week. We need to have the SDNR, SINF, and SELA records in CALPADS as soon as possible. Could we rush a fix to take care of the issue?
It's
IVR
101. We're trying to get that patched as soon as possible, Charlene.
We're rushing for sure.
And Eldrick asks about that as well.
His is SIMP.
Oh, okay. So including the IVR 0001 and PM 6030. Oh, no
Failed
details.
simp shows, yeah.
Yeah.
But usually the failed jobs, when we go look on them on the back end, are because of the IVR 01.
So hopefully they'll be fixed at the same time. Cindy asks, any status on the 2.16 and 2.17 fix?
It's in the backlog for Tuesday's release, but it hasn't been worked on yet.
Leilani asks, we have a 5th year senior enrolled for 1 day and graduated. They are not counting in the end of year 3.1. End of year 3, 1.22. Is this correct?
As long as the exit date is before 8/15. Is that what you were going to say, Paul?
No, I was actually going to ask a different question that was completely irrelevant. So thank you for cutting me off.
We do have a bug. Check the enrollment status. They're not counting correctly if they are short-term enrollment. That's going to be fixed on Tuesday. But otherwise, if the date is before August 15th, they should be included.
Richard asked, Monday office hours. I think we sent out or actually an email was sent out. Not exactly sure who all it goes to, that the CSIS service desk is closed on Monday.
I think he's making fun of me. I said at the top of the call, I would have a better list for you on Monday.
Oh.
So.
Oh, that's what they were all talking about here. Okay.
Yes, we are closed on Monday. Sorry.
And we won't be hosting a call.
No.
You all need a vacation as well.
I'll be at a campground. Carla asks, hi, the student work-based learning. We have a student with an IEP. We are reporting with a work-based learning 60 transition work-based experience. The student exited from the district on December 17th, 2021, but completed the WBL program on 1/24/22. Is this allowed? The CIS extract will not pick up the record because the student completed the program after the enrollment exit date.
Carla, the answer to your question is, would we accept it? And I think the answer is yes. It's talking to your vendor about how specifically to extract it, because just, remember that it's just an indicator. If you have to manually put it in, you should.
So there's nothing written down that says you have to be enrolled and before you finish your work-based experience.
No, I mean, we're talking literally, we're talking like less than 30 days here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're just wanting to know that the student completed a certain amount of hours and is prepared for career. Now, in this case, just Carla, I wanted to clarify that. Remember that transition work-based experience and transition classroom-based work exploration, in order to be counted as prepared, the student not only has to exit with a certificate of completion, but also they have to meet both of those indicators, which means they have to have the coursework and they have to have the transition, the 100 hours of transition work-based experience. I don't know if that makes any difference in whether or not you want to get it in there.
Okay, Laura asks, can we pull the direct cert tomorrow, June 30th, 2022?
Should be able to.
Should be able to, yes.
Just a reminder, use the date range option. That way you cover everyone who was enrolled in this academic year. Otherwise, if you already close your SCNR exits, it will generate fewer results in there if you choose the active enrollment option.
Good point. Thanks, Karen. Rebecca asks, the foster youth data should also be downloaded, correct? As that also gets purged. Correct, Rebecca. Good point.
But with the foster, you have to get the current and the former to get the picture of the year. So don't just do your current, right? Because they could have been with you or been a foster only for the first 6 months and then they became a former foster. So you need both sets of data.
Yadira asks, is the stats file uploaded from end of year 3? I only had 3 errors on my end of year for students missing absence summary. I was told those errors were resolved, so I uploaded a new stats and it was rejected with 1,000 IVR 116s. Help. I haven't had a new revision since the 27th.
She clarified down below that she does have a new revision now, and I checked her latest stats file, and it also has 0 errors. So I think Yadira is good.
Okay, great. All that happened in the time that she asked the question. Jennifer asks, my Sync SIRS soft files posted, but I'm unable to see any soft records under a student record, but I can see records in the student incident results section of the student record. Is this a known issue?
I had this happen to me with another user. I ended up logging a bug, but not for the reasons you would expect. The offense code is a 3 digits. I don't know, Paul, if you have the code sets up. Anyway, that my user was submitting a 2-digit code for that field, and it wasn't caught on input. So it was posting, but then of course nothing was displaying in the offense container, and also the reports were blank for the offenses as well. So check that, Jennifer. Open up your soft file, and it's the last data element, I believe. Should make sure it's 3 digits, like 101. I don't know all the numbers off the top of my head, but if it's
Paul's
only
bringing it up
2,
here.
yeah, if it's only 2 digits, check with your SIS vendor. And if it's not that, maybe put in a ticket and we can do some further analysis for you.
So there's your 3-digit codes for the offenses on screen. Shelley Ellison has a surprised face. I'm not sure what question or comment that's referring to. Cami asks, how do I pull the foster student extract?
The
Cami
ODS report, right?
Yeah, Cami is new. So
Oh, okay.
do we have something in the user manual for Cami, Kyron?
I believe so. Let me just go
They're the
to
5.x reports.
Yeah, it's under ODS reports
And Paul's showing you
under
on the screen
snapshot
now.
ODS. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go to the reports and select ODS reports, and then they're the 5.x reports there.
It's part of the ODS reports.
And if you want to know more details, you can look up one of the 5.x reports in the user manual by just searching for that report number.
Okay. Question from Susan from SAC COE. Good afternoon. I have a question about end of year 1. Did I understand from the previous Q&As that we should not be reporting courses for students who do not complete the entire course? In other words, should we forego reporting courses where the students earn only partial credit? Thanks so much for the clarification.
If your student information system allows you to report partial credit, then you can report partial credit. So remember that we've got credits earned, credits attempted. And so if they attempted 10 credits but only earned 5, you could report that, but you should talk to your SIS vendor to see whether or not they extract those.
Okay. Denise asks, I apologize if this has already been asked. I joined late. Is it recommended for an LA to upload next year's new enrollments now for the purpose of direct certification match? Our business office just asked. Thanks.
Well, IVR1 is going to stop you. So until we get that one fixed, you won't be able to.
And I think in prior flashes, we said definitely by August 1st to have it for direct cert, your enrollments in place. I don't remember why August was more important.
Well, it's because that's generally right before school starts.
Okay.
So it's, you know, and the idea is to be able to submit up those enrollments so students get directly certified as early as possible. Although
So
now with California meals, you know, everybody's going to be getting free meals.
So if you can't do it, you know, by Friday, then, you know, your next chance is August, which is still doable, right? You'll still get good info right before school starts.
Right. And the other thing that I would say is that very likely Department of Social Services is not even going to run the match until after the 4th of July holiday. Very likely they won't run it till the 5th or the 6th.
Do you know when we're scheduled to pull the data and send to them?
Oh, it's supposed to generate the file on the 2nd, but now it's the
weekend and the holiday.
Look, I think we might not even send the data over there. And let me just look. Let me look.
I was thinking maybe July 5th, which is.
It's probably July 5th. Let me see. Oh, you know what? Thank you for.
It's a new year, huh, Brandy?
Thank you. You just gave me my task that I got to do right now. Yeah, we will not even generate the file until the 5th, which means Social Services probably won't run it till the 6th or the 7th.
Okay. At 3:10, Karen posted a reset password methods link. Charlene had a follow-up on our question 1. We've sent the invite to have students test starting July 5th. Looks like we'll have to reschedule them. We are not allowed even allowed to manually enter a TBD record.
Is that from IVR1?
Stella? Yeah. Or you don't have SSIDs for them yet?
I'll come back to that one. Sherry asks, will data discrepancy reports still be released this week? If not, do you have an ETA? We're shooting for next Tuesday's release, the 5th of July, or shortly thereafter.
But let me clarify, Sherry. Data discrepancies, it's like a two-parter. Only we did the last part before we did the first part for data discrepancies. So we're going to have data discrepancies running throughout the year. It's just we weren't able to get that done. And now we're in end of year. So we jumped to just doing the certification data discrepancies. And so you have to go into the certification screen to see those errors. We won't have the data discrepancy functionality where those reports exist ready yet. So we're doing the second half first, the certification data discrepancies. And then when we get done with the EOI, we'll start focusing on that feature of data discrepancies where it's a module on the nav bar where you can actually go and see all your different data discrepancies. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Yadira sent me a direct message. Her 14.1 is now showing data, so that's good to hear. May ask, we are desperately trying to create SSIDs so that they can pre-test the first week of July. However, we're getting the IVR 01s dead in the water. We want to make sure the CALPADS early enough, so that's in TOMS. Is there a workaround to not trigger the IVRs? I don't believe there's a workaround, and we are trying to get dispatched as soon as possible.
I have some good news. It looks like I just checked in with the tester and he's happy with the results. So if he closes it today, we may even get a patch tonight.
Awesome. Lou asks, will the foster youth data update again tomorrow, or will the 6/22/22 refresh be it?
Usually it refreshes on a Friday. Right? We do something on Wednesday and then we load it on Friday.
Argelia, RLA has a student with a 5-day suspension in the behavior record and 16.5 in the attendance record as he was pending an expulsion. Should the behavior record reflect the 16.5 days of suspension, or should the 11.5 additional days of suspension be added to the expulsion record?
So if the days attached to the suspension should include any days the student was suspended pending expulsion. So the duration of the suspension would be not only the 5 days, but the additional 11.5 during the time that the student was pending expulsion. So it's 16.5.
Fabulous says, can you provide an update for the 14.1 report? You have successfully uploaded the staff's data and it is still showing all zeros. It should be working for you now, Fabiola. Maybe we're waiting for a new revision, or but if it's still showing zeros, put in a ticket and
I
well,
don't know, maybe log out of CalPads and come back in and see if that makes
yeah.
a difference.
It should be working. Jackie asked, are we clear to load the stats even though the full replacement isn't working right now? I am concerned about the repercussions there are while it is not doing a full replace. Known issue 6195.
Yeah, the LEAs that are most impacted by that one, Jackie, are folks that posted their STAS file, their 21-22 STAS file in 2021, and now they have a bunch of kids who left them. So if you didn't do that, you're probably okay to, it's fine to go ahead and upload your STAS. And if you have a student that shouldn't be in there, you could just manually do the one-off deletions and online maintenance.
Angela says, no question, but just wanted to say thank you to the wonderful FCMAT CSIS team on these Q&A calls. And CDE too, can't forget Brandy. Your patience and guidance in navigating all these CalPads post-resign challenges, ergo madness, is much appreciated. Thanks, Angela. We appreciate your comments. And as since we are not going to be able to finish end of year until sometime in July, in the best scenario, and our SPED guru has to roll over her students in SACE for the next school year, how is that going to impact the SPED extracts she has to continue to upload into CalPads for end of year?
That's a SACE question, but maybe Brandy knows.
Well, I do know that we did have this this question for SACE, and I believe that what SACE responded with was they don't necessarily have to roll them over right away. They can wait until end of year reporting is over before they upload next year's files. Now, if it may be a little bit different for students or that are enrolled in schools that are year round and their enrollments start in July. And I would send a ticket to SACE because I believe their initial guidance was, you know, you don't have to roll the students over until end of year reporting is done.
Sue-Ann asks, are you closed on the 1st for Canada Day? We're not closed. However, I will tell you that CSIS is going to be on a skeleton crew pretty much. So be nice on Friday if you're working with submitting tickets.
We'll just be extra polite, Sue-Ann.
Poor Paul is going to be manning this level 2 all by himself. Him and Martha.
Okay, maybe the politeness is out the window. Sorry.
From Ethan, I haven't had a chance to follow up with PowerSchool yet, but for your information to PowerSchool users, I don't think the SIS has recorded a year ID on the work-based learning records, which means running the work-based learning extract this year is including the work-based learning records from last year too, but giving them a 21-22 academic year ID on the extract, leading to duplicates in CalPads with any records you uploaded last year. FCMAC folks, are their CIS vendors aware they should be tracking a year ID on the work-based learning and only pulling the current year data onto the extract?
Good question. I do not know if they know that. So really, it's only problematic, Ethan, for those work-based learning programs that are associated with the external hours. And so what I'm talking about are your internships, your student-led enterprise, and your simulated work-based learning. So if they're resubmitting those with duplicate hours in this academic year, then it may overinflate the number of hours that the student actually completed. But for all of the other work-based learning programs, it's sort of irrelevant because the student will only get counted once in each of those as completing one of those programs. Like I said, it only matters for the 3 programs, so it's 10, 15, and 20 that have the work-based learning external hours associated with them.
At 3:33, Angela posted the link for foster youth. Jennifer says, my former foster list is empty. Is this a bug? This may be because the students have been exited already. Because I logged a bug and come to find out I probably shouldn't have because I forgot to check to see if the students were all exited.
Also, Gary, I posted at the bottom part of the chat. It just occurred to me, if you've already sent up your SCNR exits, you might have 0 results on your foster, regardless if it's active or in the old report. So a workaround would be to run, I believe, end of year 3 8.1, because there might be a foster column there.
Angela says, yes, thanks to Brandy too for your guidance and knowledge.
We got to add Joe into that crowd too.
Yes, definitely Joe too. Linda says the 14.1 is still showing zeros for her, even after logging out, logging back in. This is happening with multiple LEAs that I submit for. Should be working. We might have to look into that a little more.
Yeah, I would say check the revision date and make sure it's after the noontime yesterday. And then to verify, ask them for their job ID for the files that they submitted for 14.1. Make sure they actually posted data.
And remember, even if you have one rejected record, that doesn't mean the records are, that means the records are not getting posted. So Joe the Flash, Joe the Flash Suan says that's because he knows those flashes really well. All right, we're at the bottom, so I'll go back up to the Q2s. Okay, Doug says, with July 2nd being on the weekend, can you share what the dates are that the July direct certification data will be pulled and expected to be posted? Would July 5th be when the pull occurs and July 11th be a good estimate date for when the DC download will be available?
That sounds like good estimate.
Well, on screen, you can see the schedule, how it happened for the whole year here. And you can see that the first one was on July 2nd, and it came back on July 6th. So you can see the rough time frames that it happens.
Thanks, Paul. Perfect.
So Gary, 302, Soraya.
Okay, thank you. Go back up here. 302. Here we go. What are the CDE guidelines regarding the runaway youth? At what point, if any, should they be disenrolled from the LEA? I was notified the student ran away 3 weeks before the school year ended and did not attend at all during that 3-week period.
So you can't just disenroll a student. I mean, you have to actually refer them through the truancy period. So if in fact they were absent the last 3 weeks of school, you should have reported those as unexcused absences, and their exit code should be the last day of school because they were expected attendance days, right? It should be the last day of school with an exit code of E140, which is no known enrollment truant.
Suan's question 2, Flash 223 stated all CALPADS data discrepancies, CDDs, will be implemented and visible in the later part of June, and a certification approval button will be enabled. We are still waiting on the additional guidance to identify records triggering CDDs. What is the status on both? By the way, all of this CVR, IVR, CDD, DDD, DDUI is becoming very confusing. Also, Flash 2224 reads like stereo instructions.
Well, we tried to explain it, Sue-Ann, that the certification data discrepancies that were noted in the flash that we said the end of June. And so we do releases on Tuesday. We weren't able to get it in yesterday. So our next chance, code cutoff is Friday. And so our next chance is to implement it on Tuesday. But there's a lot of moving parts, and if one part isn't functioning, it's not helpful to turn it on for the sake of turning it on. So it has to be complete enough, not totally complete, but complete enough that you guys can utilize that information. So we have some outstanding items that we want to be sure that you can see the detail of the record, that the counts match. There's a timestamp so that you know when the data discrepancy was created. So those are the final touches we're trying to put on it. And if we're successful, it will be Tuesday. And yes, there are a lot of ABC acronyms that people have to get used to. CVRs and IVRs have been with us forever. The certification validation rules and the input validation rules. And now we have data discrepancies that happen throughout the year, and then the certification data discrepancies that only happen during certification time. So there you have it. We'll keep trying to pronounce the whole acronym until people really get used to what they are.
Question 2 from Amy. I'm not going to read it because Martha just answered that question for Sue-Ann. Question 2 from Kay. Is the logic change in this STAS, this formula? Days attended equals the expected days minus in-school suspension minus excused absences minus unexcused absences minus out-of-school suspensions. The SIS extract is not subtracting the in-school suspensions from the days attended. And it should be. If you go to the error list, there's an error in there that specifically kind of says, I think it's 13, ends in 13, that shows you all the columns are added separately outside of the days attended in person. And all the days attended in person plus those other columns all should add up to the expected days. Not sure what Paul's looking for, but
he's talking about the validation error list, not the.
Yeah. Oh, Paul, I was talking about just our regular error list, the one that you can get off CD's page.
STAS 318.
318. And there you go. Question 2 from Terry. I am still unable to render the 5.7 and 5.9 reports. My ticket is escalated. How do I get full listing of students before the rollover? The 5.7 report, you may want to break it down if you're a large district. Actually, I have your ticket, Terry. I'm working, I was escalated and I'm working on that right now. And actually, that's the one I just made into a bug, but now I'm thinking it's not a bug because if you exited the students, that's why you're showing zeros on your 5.9 and 5.8 reports. But on the 5.7, you may, since you're a larger district, you may want to just select, I tested like 6 schools at a time and the report did come up. Question 3 from Amy. So if we see the SSID in the IVR, can we go ahead and use that to populate in our student information system?
Not sure what that means.
I'm not either.
Maybe she's talking about the SSID assignment process. You're not going to see whether or not a student has an SSID unless you do a manual search for the SSID or on the demographic criteria for the student. If you find the SSID for the student, then you should put it in your student information system before actually sending up the student enrollment file.
I have also seen cases where an LEA will request an SSID and they'll either put in like a wrong date, birth date or something, and so it triggers an IVR. And CalPADS does show an SSID associated with it, even though the SSID has never actually been generated. So it can be a little confusing, but I would say unless the SSID actually posts successfully, then I would not use that SSID, even if it does trigger that IVR for you.
Yeah, the
Thanks,
most
Alex.
common IVR I've seen for that one is 262, where it says your kindergartner is too old.
Yeah.
So they had a wrong, a really wrong birth year in there. And so a workaround we found was to, if you're requesting it in online maintenance, make the student a first grader instead of a kindergartner. That'll allow it to complete the issuance of the SSID. And then once it posts, you can go to the demographic record, fix the birth year, post that, and then go back to the enrollment and change the student back to a kindergartner.
Question 4 from Amy. Which file SyncSoft SIRS has the removal to interim facility for students with disability only, related to end of year 3 and related to the CERT 159?
It's the Sears.
SIRS file. Which column? I think it's the last one, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at the file specifications.
18.17.
Column 18.17. Paul's
We
bringing
have
it
it
up
in
on
the error list, what fields are impacted, but not on the cert.
And I had it up on the screen, but everybody wanted to talk about something else.
There it is right there. 18.17 is your call. Thanks, Paul.
But it doesn't say what file. And Kyron said SIRS, and here it says it's a sync data. So it's not SIRS?
18 is from sync.
Well, let's just go look. There it is on the bottom right, 18.17. I knew it was the last column.
Incident level.
Question 2 from Lou. I'm receiving a CERT 126 missing primary or short-term enrollment record for the student with the absence summary data for a student that was an N470 no-show at the beginning of the school year. Is this a bug? I haven't seen the CERT 126 as a bug, I don't think.
Well, if you've got absence summary data for them, you're going to get this. So if you've put absence, if you've put days attended in there, I mean, although it shouldn't be looking at N470s, maybe that's your point.
They probably submitted a secondary enrollment and submitted this test.
Yeah, Lou, we may want to take it in on this so we can do a little more investigation. Question 2 from Charlene to Martha. What does it mean to not only download the current foster youth records, but also previous foster year records?
A student may have been a foster, let's say up until December, and then for whatever reason, they no longer are foster. So come January, they're no longer on your current foster report. They move over to what we call the former foster. So if you have kids that partway through the year stop becoming foster, we'll remember that they were former foster that year. So you have to run both reports to get a complete list of who was foster during the year.
Joanna's question 3. In the CELA ODS extract for reconciliation, the student's language is included. However, Aries does not use this data. The other vendors, Q, PowerSchool, and Infinite Campus, can do a CELA reconciliation. Why is it included in the extract?
Because it's part of the file. I mean, the objective of an ODS extract is to feed you back what's in there. If your vendor chooses not to use it, I hope I'm interpreting that question correctly.
And question 2, since the CT completers are reported when they complete the CTE pathway, the numbers on the 3.19 report is very low for one of our specific pathways. Which report would show the completers for the CTE pathway for all school years? I think we have a new report coming out, the 3.20, that's going to have your completers listed.
It's not for
But not
all
for-
school year. No.
No,
Oh, for
we
all
don't
school
have.
years.
Yeah, we don't have that, and you'd have to run it for each year.
Individual
I mean,
years.
Right. I think what you're wanting is something similar to what's going to show up on the dashboard, and we don't currently have that.
A cumulative completer list.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, the
doesn't
other thing
exist.
you need to consider for the dashboard, they're looking at whether or not a student was a CTE completer. They're counting in over a 5-year period, and they're counting that CTE completer status at the LEA from which the student graduates, even if they didn't complete the pathway at that site, right? So the completion status, CTE completion status at a certain point for dashboard board purposes gets attached to the student, whereas in CALPADS, the CTE completion status is attached to the student based on the LEA that they completed the pathway.
There is the cohort report that has a filter for CTE completer. So
But does
along, what was that?
Will it show CTE completers at any LEA?
Yeah, I believe.
At another LEA?
Yeah, I believe it should. If the student was a CT completer at any point during their cohort year, it should bring up the kid. It won't show you a pathway though. It's
During
just
the
gonna.
cohort year or during the cohort?
It's during the 4-year cohort.
Right. And you can see the filter option for CT completer right there in the middle, as Paul brought up the filter section for the 15.2 report.
Good to know.
Okay, Mary asks, regarding the poll for Department of Social Services, is this for PEBT? PEBT? What kind of data is being pulled? And I assume this has nothing to do with the 22-23 school year.
We were talking about direct certification, which is not the same thing as the PEBT, right, Brandy?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yadira's question.
Hey, Gary, I'm sorry. Before we move on to Yadira, can we go back to Eldrick? He was at the top of the call, and I think he's dropped off, but Ed DeWitt is still on. So Ed, maybe you could pass this along to Eldrick for me. He was getting the SIMF file was failing. It wasn't even getting to the validated step. And I did a little digging, and it looks like there's some parent guardians in your file with quotes, and that's what's causing the failure. So if you open that SIMP file and do a find and replace to drop all those quotes out of it, I was able to successfully upload it in staging environments doing that. So give that a shot.
Thanks, Angela. Question 2 from Yadira. Based on the 9.34, can one teacher with a multiple subject teach in a middle school course setting?
We don't have a 9.34 report.
That just sounds familiar.
I think it's a data element.
I was going to say, it sounds like a field.
So the answer to the question is yes, a teacher with a multiple subject credential can teach courses that are part of a middle school core. The key here is ensuring that it's actually a middle school core, which means that teacher is teaching 2 or more subjects to the same kids in the same day. So periods 1 and 2, you have one group of students getting English and history. Periods 3 and 4, you have another group of students getting English and history. That's considered a middle school core. The courses get reported in a departmentalized fashion. They get flagged with the middle school core setting indicator. And if that's the case, then that teacher, if they have a multiple subject credential, would be appropriately credentialed, assuming all the kids are the same.
I think that's it. Or there's a question right at 4 from Karen. And this is the last question, I believe. We have a few private school students who were enrolled in error. We exited them with a no-show exit code, and my SPED person is receiving, oh, the CERT 145 errors, my nemesis. I'm wanting to understand the solution I was given for this error. Should we remove the private school enrollment and replace it with a district level enrollment now? So I think I gave you that.
I don't know the answer to this question because I'm assuming that it's not letting them delete it because it's the only enrollment.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not letting them delete it. Although I had escalated one to the SPED office, and they put an internal note that it shouldn't be reported to CalPADS, but it's there. So we'd have to submit a data request to delete it. And I don't think that's the option. I think the option is to just put a district level no-show enrollment, and then that will resolve the CERT 145 as one option.
Yeah, if it was an error, meaning they should not have been enrolled for SPED purposes, then I would change it to district level and exit them as no-shows.
And there's the known issue for CERT 145.
And actually the known issue isn't a known issue. That's been rescinded because it's actually working as designed. They need to do what Brandy just said and how I responded in the ticket.
If it's not making sense, just respond back and continue to help you understand it. Jeanette.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeanette. We will begin summer LPAC testing next week, and I have not been able to request SSIDs getting the IVR 001. Okay, Jeanette, so that we're hoping to be patched tonight. We think it might be patched tonight. So
Probably, I think I got a little too excited.
Uh-oh.
It sounds like it's going to be tomorrow. So
Okay.
tonight would be the earliest, but it sounds like it's going to be tomorrow, sometime tomorrow.
So hopefully we get that in, Jeanette, and you can try again. That it? I don't think I missed anybody else. So thanks everyone for attending today's Q&A.
Hey, so this is our last time talking to Kay then, huh? Retirement
right.
starts
Kay's retiring.
tomorrow, Kay. So happy trails.
Yeah.
Happy retirement, Kay.
Oh, Brandy's going to sing her out.
Until you start your own consulting business.
Like moths to the flame. People can't stay away from CalPADS.
That's right.
It's common, Kay. Be ready for it.
I've talked to a lot of folks that have retired that have been pulled back into CalPADS by their respective districts because they can't find the right person.
There's somebody with that knowledge. So you guys are doing all the right things, coming to these Q&As and building up that knowledge base. We have so much to teach you.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for attending. Thanks everyone for the help. And we will be back again next Wednesday. We won't be here Monday.
Happy
Have a
4th.
good holiday. Yes.
Yep.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.